A moment will come when all the inhabitants of the earth will be trapped in a huge 140-story bunker. But no one knows who built it and why it should be hidden. With all information destroyed, the sheriff's wife is determined to reveal her truth, and a chain of disobedience begins. Sheriff Beckett Halston retrieves his ID card, cleans up his room, and enters the shelter's gallery. No one knows why people are here, who built it, and why the outside world is like this. No one knows when we will be able to go out, but that day has clearly not yet come. When Halston arrives at the office, he writes a letter to his assistant asking him to quarantine. After drinking his coffee, he walked through the door himself, closed the gate behind him and threw away his key. He told his astonished assistant that he wanted to be with his wife, whose body lay behind a dusty porthole. Openly expressing a desire to leave the shelter is tantamount to voluntary expulsion. This is death. As the stunned assistant coordinates the sheriff's statement, he reminisces about his wife one morning when they had coffee and received the long-awaited birth certificate. There is one more year left before the family conceives and gives birth to an heir. Surrounding people congratulate the couple on this wonderful event. Suddenly, Gloria, an eccentric older woman known as a charlatan, comes to the table and asks her Allison to come to her room. She becomes pregnant and wants to help give birth to her child, but Halston drives her away. The woman herself has no children. How can she help? The couple then go to the doctor, who receives contraceptive capsules from Allison. Now she has every chance of becoming her mother. And this is the third and final attempt. The countdown begins, but so far the couple has not produced any results. Allison follows the advice of those around her, but one day she is reprimanded by her female boss. She posted an article online about deleted files on her old drive without consulting her. The item has been removed, but she should be aware that this is a serious offense, as it is forbidden to restore antiques. Allison later tells her husband about the incident. She doesn't understand why she is not allowed to release information about materials taken down by rebels. Finally, the mayor is a constant reminder of the sanctity of history and the memory of generations. And the law will send people with relics from all ages and countries into the mines. Ms. Halston wants the law to be obeyed because if a few offenders peek outside and try to open the hatch, it means the end of the shelter. Allison disagrees with her husband's opinion, but as time goes on she comes to have other concerns. However, she is still unable to conceive and her Freedom Day arrives and is celebrated. After the final mutiny, the mayor of the bunker is concerned that the outer lens is dirty. On the one hand, there are no criminals among the residents sent for cleaning, which is a good thing. But on the other hand, people should also be able to see the outside world. At this point, Gloria lures Allison into her own room and, taking all her precautions, questions the woman about the broken server and the burnt book. Did the rebels really do this and why? She declares that Allison cannot have children. She is just unforgivable. Allison later relays this conversation to her husband, who advises him not to believe the crazy old woman. On the same day, the woman received an order to work in the small workshop of a city programmer. Today is a free day, but her husband is on duty. Therefore, she is happy to work her allotted time. Allison walks through a revelry gallery to a workshop where performances are held and people are drinking and having fun. She was greeted enthusiastically by George, a programmer who had long waited to contact her because he had read her post about her deleted files. He showed her something forbidden. My old hard drive was able to boot, but I couldn't read any files. Allison gets to work while the mayor delivers a congratulatory speech praising the shelter's laws. Just as she did 140 years ago, they defended freedom and forbade the rebels to open the door to the outside world. They destroyed all information from past lives, but the founding heroes saved what was left of civilization. At this point, Allison manages to start the CD, but the woman gets scared and leaves, asking George to destroy the relic. The galleries cheer and celebrate their victory as George investigates plans for an entire giant bunker and discovers an unknown tunnel at its bottom. Allison joins the townspeople in mourning her ancestors and flying a flying lantern, but her mind is so busy with her new discoveries that she can't think of anything else. Her husband became aware of her condition, but she apologized for her tired look. The next day, Allison applies for time off from work and goes to see Gloria to find out why she was denied a child. After that, she told her husband that she wanted to take her day off and go for her walk, but she asked George herself to go and show him everything. The two were surprised when they opened one of the files. That is what is there. When Allison returns home, she receives a message from the doctor. "I'm running out of time, so I have to go to my appointment tomorrow." The woman asks her husband to wait there, but Halston waits in vain. Allison never comes to her waiting room. A man goes to work, but she is not there either. He then ran home to find his wife sitting at the table. She asks him to talk. She told him he should never have children because the elite needs a docile and obedient public. He was a lawyer and she couldn't speak without evidence. But her evidence is found, and Allison shows herself cut out contraceptive capsules. Her doctor cheated on her. Halston sees the blood and runs to the doctor, but when he returns, Allison is no longer in the room. They found her in the dining room publicly accusing the government of hiding her truth about the real situation outdoors and uttering the forbidden words of wanting to get out of the bunker. By her law they are forced to kick her out and her sheriff must arrest his own wife. The mayor is trying to circumvent the law, but there is no way. There were too many eyewitnesses. Police searched Gloria's home and George's workshop, but found nothing incriminating. No one understands what made women think this way, but they carry on the tradition. While preparing a spacesuit for Allison, Halston stays in her cell and tries to convince the woman that she's not crazy, that she knows what she's doing. And only the image changes. Authorities have the ability to do this. She reminds him that all exiles must clean the outside camera lens. So even if everything was really dead outside, she wouldn't. And if the world were alive it would wipe the glass, and that would be the signal for him. If all goes according to her plan, Allison will climb the hill, find the truth and come back. The moment of exile arrives. Allison puts on her spacesuit and a special cloth is placed in her pocket to wipe her lenses. Halston reads the traditional parting words and breaks down in tears as he hears his wife's final words of love for him. A woman puts on a helmet and goes outside. Hundreds of people watch them on monitors. So she appears in front of the screen and cleans the lens. Then she smiled at her astonished husband's face and walked towards the dead tree on the hill. But before she gets there, she falls, leaving her immobilized. 2 years have passed. One day, the assistant informs the sheriff of George's death. The sheriff joined the mechanic after Allison was banished to the underworld. The man fell from the gallery. The women who work with George reject the idea of an act of extreme desperation. She's an engineer and she's convinced the man was killed. The sheriff inspects the corpse and goes downstairs to the witness doctor. And now, in prison awaiting asylum, he admits that it wasn't until he met Juliet that he learned to listen, something Allison never got from him. So he is ready to find his wife. The startled assistant points to a figure outside the window, but Halston is certain it's not Allison. The day of banishment is approaching. Halston apologized for the disturbance, said goodbye to his assistant and headed for the bunker door. He climbs a long hallway as people gather in the dining room to watch the sheriff's final moments. He looked at the world around him and realized Allison was right. Everything is green around, birds are singing and the sun is shining. Then start wiping the lens. The audience cheers. The ritual is complete. But the sheriff goes to his wife's body and is clearly displeased. To the surprise of the audience, he took off his helmet and crawled towards the tree. But he misses. Julia is mad. He cheated on her. The sheriff's death arouses public excitement and riots erupt, but the police quell them. Juliet dismounts from her horse and screams in an outburst of anger. Meanwhile, the sheriff's assistant reads out the final orders and summons Juliet to position. While Juliet is downstairs at work, the man goes to see the mayor. A sheriff's assistant finds the mayor knitting for a newborn. Women complain. She used to do this 25 times a year, but now she does it only 5 times. She is very upset that she sent the sheriff to clean up, but this is unprecedented in the history of bunkers and she refuses to take the job, so her replacement has yet to be found. All this time she has been examining the mayor's key, only to discover that she knows nothing about the cause of the rebellion. This woman is concerned about the emotional state of the population, and she has reason to be concerned. Hammers and hammers were bought in large numbers, and street fights still occur with police officers and are becoming more and more frequent. One day, Juliet comes to visit a mechanic friend. She immediately noticed her woman's anger and agitation and asked her to share her problem. And after some hesitation, Juliet admitted that she was George. She is convinced he was killed because he wanted to show her something. The last time we met, George didn't want anyone to know about their relationship, so he didn't come to the mechanic's party. However, he stopped by briefly to set up a meeting with her that night. Juliet came home late, but George was not in her room. However, inside her was a bag with an incomprehensible rarity and a note asking her to remember where she had seen this trinket. In the morning a woman came into the dining room and although she was given a sympathetic look, she did not understand what had happened. It was at breakfast that she learned of the death of her loved one. After recovering from the initial shock, she goes to law enforcement officers and reports the programmer's murder. He takes her to her sheriff's office. Together they investigate the scene, and the girl reiterates that George could not have taken his own life. It all happened in the middle of the night, and the delivery man may have been the only witness. Halston also checks his watch, but Juliet assures him it's not uncommon. The girl examined George's body, but found no unusual wounds. Afterwards, they discuss over lunch, and the sheriff asks her to tell her everything, promising not to reveal any forbidden secrets to her superiors. Julia takes him to her room and shows him the toys George left behind, but she gives him the note in abbreviated form. And she takes him to the lowest level places the sheriff has never been and could not even imagine this place existed. The women open a secret passageway, the walls of which are painted with writings and drawings of the people who lived there before the uprising. After passing through it, the two descend a metal staircase and enter a huge cavern beneath the bunker. Juliet turns on the lights, and Halston looks around in amazement at a gigantic machine standing in the middle of the cave. Apparently, this is an underground facility used by an unknown ancestor to create the sanctuary. Anything of value was removed long ago. For the first time, she realizes that they know very little about the shelter and its builders. The couple land on an airplane that George has set up a living area for. He kept the artifacts he found here and didn't want to make their relationship public lest he be suspected if he were arrested. After Juliet shows her friend's treasure to Halston, she suddenly notices a coil of wire detached from some platform. When Juliet retrieves it, she finds a bag containing a hard drive nearby, with a note left in Allison's hand. The sheriff recognized it immediately. It turns out that his wife knew all about what was going on, but she didn't tell him. Halston demands that the rarity be sent to the furnace before anyone finds out about its existence, but Juliet objects, inadvertently repeating her wife's words that she can't listen to the security. Calmed the officer. He admitted that he could pass through the dining room because he could see her body under the tree through the window. And he advised the woman to keep quiet until she knew the truth. Her friend shook her head beside her. Juliet was tough with her sheriff, who didn't fully trust her. Afterwards, the woman didn't show Halston everything, she admits. The memo continued. George writes that he found what he was looking for, but that it was 1,000 times more dangerous than it had been before. She hears her wishes that Juliet is gone and that she should live, and the sheriff's deputy confesses to the mayor that Halston has left her heir. But he was so embarrassed by this candidate that he didn't want to talk about her. The mayor schedules a meeting with the woman, while Juliet recalls the conversation when George jokingly admitted that a bundle of combine ropes would help him travel back in time. He finds old blueprints and underwater tunnels. He wanted to hold onto the rope and swim. The woman goes to the cave and lowers her rope to the surface. At the foot of the machine, the idea of humanity surviving inside a closed bunker is nothing new, but there is a definite expectation that something totally unexpected and incredible will happen. In general, we are waiting for the next episode. End. In a world shrouded in mystery, where inhabitants live trapped within an enigmatic bunker, the search for truth becomes an act of rebellion. As revelations unfold and hidden secrets emerge, alliances shift and unexpected heroes rise, leading to a climactic moment of discovery that challenges everything they once knew. The journey, marked by defiance and sacrifice, culminates in a revelation that transcends their confined existence, ushering in a new era of understanding and possibility.